Hello, good morning. It's nice to reach you on this Sunday morning. You can hear the background music of church. I grew up not far from this place, in fact, in this compound where we are doing this recording. My name is Su'eddie Vershima Agema, and these are the poems I love. Now, I'll be reading a lot of poems by Hyginus Ekwuazi, who is by far one of my favorite people, a man I love deeply. And reading his book, Dawn into Moonlight, All Around Me Dawning, changed my perspective on life, on writing, on reading. I was an undergraduate student. I had just finished my undergraduate studies. I studied English at the Benue State University, and I came across this book in the house of a very good friend too, Samuel Gabidu. And reading this book opened my mind to new dimensions of poetry. And Ekwuazi has come to remain a big friend, one of my best people. And as he said, we could easily have been brothers in another life, but in this life, it is what it is. So the first poem I'll be reading is titled, Though I Waited a Lifetime, and it's taken from Dawn into Moonlight, All Around Me Dawning. Though I waited a lifetime for you to chance by, now that you've chanced by, you're stretching a lifetime waiting into another lifetime, into a horizon of dawns that stretch beyond the reach of the heart. In vain they mock the heart, these empty dawns that push far beyond the reach of the heart. And this dawn, my heart tells me I must continue to cling to you, though you stretch a lifetime waiting into another lifetime. I know why you're stretching a lifetime waiting into another lifetime. It's because of this. It's because of this season of anomy that has stretched our darkest hour just beyond dawn to well beyond dawn. The giant umbrella planted on the rock has become the only shelter there is, and they must master to skim, to cheat and kill, who seek shelter in it. I know why you are stretching a lifetime waiting into another lifetime. But I've woken to a dawn that makes me search for a star in the east. And so this dawn, I bring you my all my love, a love that is wind-wiped, sun-baked, moon-swept, and rain-soaked. A love that stands arms akimbo through all seasons. A love that will endure long after the wind and the sun and the moon and the rain will have left their mark on my patch of the earth. A love that waited a lifetime. A love that dawn, only dawn, renews. So this is from Love Apart, Hyginus Ekwuazi's first collection. It's an amazing collection. It's one of the finest collections that you would read. And I would be reading 2 or 3 poems from here. But the first is Home is Where Mother Is, and it's taken from Love Apart. Mothers never die, not when they have a living moment, not when they have a living monument. Mothers never die, not when there's a home in the heart for them, and home is where mother is. She has told me about you, about the mother who stuffed her pockets and backpack and her sandals with bounce and confidence, with cheer and panache, and pointed her in the direction of the road less traveled. About the mother who, while fighting off hawks and rattlesnakes and other meddlesome relations from her blood, scraped and polished the stone rejected by the builders to become the chief stone in the corner. When her voice becomes tremulous and her eyes heavy with unshed tears, I hear the screeching of brakes, the deafening crash, and the silence, screaming silence that shrouded the mass of metal and mangled flesh. I see the mother who set out to work but never made it back home. The mother who urged the grief-paralyzed rescuers to turn away from her. to those who could make it to the hospital. So much has she told me about you. I hear you walking up the staircase. I see you removing your watch, your bangles, and your earrings. I see you thrusting them and your handbag to whichever child opens the door or rushes down to welcome you. Were you to walk through the door into her life now, and she'll tell you how she was the queen of an anthill and still brought home a parchment with her name in letters of gold. She'd tell you about Pa Momodu when she could no longer feed his family on the juicy chunks of air-conditioned aloofness flung at him by the pension office. He started hearing voices of God, man, or demon, none could tell. But to him the voice of the good Lord, at whose behest he swaddled himself in bales of our national flag, doused himself in gasoline, and facing Abuja set himself ablaze. She'd tell you how for days the smell hung over the whole street like an overcast sky. But he didn't get to the villa. Not with the Zumarok of sycophants screening the villa from the sight, sound, and smell of the multitude who have remained poor because they cannot eat cake, the national cake, when they have no bread to eat. Were you to walk through the door into her life now, she'd tell you about minor disasters and major victories, about minor victories and major disasters. She'd tell you about the 1,001 other things, and she'd tell you so much more and still not be done. But she won't tell you much about me. But there really isn't much to tell, except that on the road less traveled, fellow travelers are wont to bond. On the road less traveled, fellow travelers become closer even than siblings and friends. Were you to walk through the door into her life now, you see. You see how she has become your living monument. Mothers never die, not when they have a living monument. Mothers never die, not when there's a home in the heart for them. And home is where mother is. Next, I'll be reading two poems predicated on the one I just read. This time taken from One Day I'll Dare to Raise My Middle Finger, The Stock and the Reaper by Hyginus Ekwuazi again. And this one was published by SEVHAGE, which I happen to lead. Now this is When Home is No Longer Where the Heart Seems to Soar, for Grace, his mother. Nothing seems to have changed. The same never-tiring cobweb-spinning spider, weaving and weaving its arsenal and patiently waiting to nab, waiting to grab, and waiting to swat in the finest silk, any insect crawling or flying. The same telltale scratches on the furniture and on the walls, footprints of long-gone nestlings no longer awed by the eagle's spread-out wings. The same defiant fly, still indifferently walking upside down on the same ceiling, leaving gossamer trails of death and death. And yes, the very same rooms emptied out, every full to the brim of remembered bird songs. Indeed, nothing seems to have changed. But there's cold ash where the fire used to burn. Now there's cold ash where the fire used to burn. There's nothing the eye can hear. There's nothing the human ear can see. Now there's nothing, absolutely nothing, to transform this arrival home into a homecoming or into any sense of belonging. Though it's still standing there, the age-defying, evil-repelling ogongolo tree of the bitter nut, under whose protective roots my umbilical cord was buried, to point me right back home from the four winds and from points beyond and from points unknown, that gnarled bitter kola nut street, that is the direction and drag of home, where mother's unspoken love reaches deep into any cavernous craters of fear and failure to define and disperse. But I feel no powerful stirring of belonging. No, there's nothing, absolutely nothing, to transform this return into a homecoming or into any sense of belonging. But when the mother is no longer there, home is no longer home. Home is no longer where one is transformed, from the inside out. When the mother is no longer there, home is no longer where you want to be. Home is no longer where the heart seems to soar. And riding on this, we jump straight to the next poem, Still for Grace, Ekwuazi's mother. And this one is This Mother's Day. The death certificate and the tombstone, their words precise as a scale, missed my eyes this Mother's Day. Dust to dust, and unto dust thou shalt return. Was this ever spoken of a mother's love? Every mother has a story to tell of anxieties that keep the night awake, of the goodwill that blunts the edges of failure, of hope's embryo nurtured in the foster womb of despair, of the uncontainable joy that puts heaven on hold. Dust thou art, unto dust thou shalt return. Could this ever have been spoken of a mother's love? This Mother's Day, pain rages through me like a poison, but can I ever be a motherless child? And so these poems, as you can see, have a certain darkness to them. They have a certain pain. We moved from a celebration of mother, how mothers cannot die, a poem that showed, the poem in Love Apart, that showed mothers in different states, to the time when Grace, the poet's mother, in reality, passes on and joins the ancestors. And I can relate to all these poems because I was witness particularly to the poems in One Day I'll Dare to Raise My Middle Finger, The Stock and the Reaper, having met Hyginus Ekwuazi's mother, not physically, but at least in her lifetime. We spoke about her, about the several things that happened, and having to live through the period when she eventually died, working with Professor Ekwuazi on these poems, having the privilege of publishing them. There's something that happens, you know. It's not the easiest thing to watch a man grieve, to watch a man see his mom age and eventually write about the process and write about the pain that accompanies that passage. We never really recover from the death of those we love, which is why we often need to celebrate those who we love. And I guess it's for this reason that the next poem was written, you know, as some form of celebration of me. Yeah. So this poem is for my friend Su'eddie by Hyginus Ekwuazi, again from the collection One Day I'll Dare to Raise My Middle Finger, The Stock and the Reaper. This, only this, will I have you note this birthday. On creation's day of gifts, he gave you feet to walk this rough-hewn earth. Had he wanted you to fly, he'd have given you wings. This also note, the well-beaten track is like water. No one leaves their footprints on water, not even he who alone, once upon a miracle, walked on water. This dawn, arise, 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 put your dreams on the boil, and take them. Take all your boiling dreams to the end of the road, that road which only the dreamer can see. Take your dreams, your boiling dreams, take them to the end of the road that is yet to exist. And then take the road, this road that does not exist, stretch it even to the breaking point, stretch it to the end of your dream. And after that, in measured steps, take out the road to the end of your dream. This, only this, my wish for you this birthday, in peace of mind and body. May you in reality walk the road that your dreams cause into being. May those moments that make you gasp swamp those moments that bring with them traces of why you carried at birth. And may you spend more time inside your own life. Step into rhythm with the music inside you, even if the music be in dissonance with the world around you. And on the spirit of this poem, I wish you all these same blessings and many more.